Hey, what's up everybody? It's me, Just Keeks, back with another brand new video. And today I'll be diving into my spoiler review of episode 4 of Netflix's Avatar: The Last Airbender. And so let's just jump right into it, folks. Alright, so episode 4 of Netflix's Avatar: The Last Airbender series is titled Into the Dark. In this episode, pretty much adapts like 3 different episodes, sort of, from the series. So we get the portion of the King of Amashu, with Aang and Boomy. That's all from that episode for the most part. Um, so they adapt pretty much King of Amashu, in this episode. They adapt the Iroh and Zuko portion from the Winter Solstice, part one, into this episode with Iroh, being transferred by the Earth Kingdom soldiers and all that, and Zuko looking for him. And then they also adapt a little bit of the Cave of Two Lovers from book two into this episode. And I would say that this is probably one of my favorite episodes, um, this whole series, this whole season. I really enjoyed it. I think it was really done really well. Um, and there are some changes, but I think the changes and stuff really work here. So, anyways, let's break it down. So, first thing I want to talk about is the way they handled Boomy and everything, and his relationship with Aang and all that. Now, in this show, well, in the original cartoon, Boomy is sort of portrayed as like a mad king and everything, and that's still done here. One of the difference they did here was that it's immediately revealed to Aang that it's Boomy. Um, in the original show, in the cartoon, he didn't realize it till the end. Boomy makes him do a whole bunch of like tasks and everything, and it's supposed to help Aang to think outside the box, which is something that Boomy said to him when they were like when he was younger and they were both kids and everything, right? Um, we do get a flashback of Boomy and Aang, when Boomy was young and everything, and before Aang got frozen and everything. And it's a small scene at like the very beginning, and that kind of establishes like how Aang knows Boomy. Aang figures out it's Boomy when he hears him laugh. He immediately knows it's him and everything. Um, so Boomy's whole thing in the live action version seems to be that he has lived through this war for 100 years while Aang was just frozen, and he's just really torn that Aang wasn't there, to help him and everything. Even though, let's be honest, Aang would probably have died because he was so young and it only knew airbending and all that. So who knows how that would have gone, right? Um, but he's basically trying to show Aang that being the Avatar is gonna be difficult choices. Like I'm the king of this town, and I have to make all these difficult choices. Um, and it's been a burden on me for like years, and I've lived 100 years. I especially like that when he says that to Aang, when he says to him, "You may be 100 years old, Avatar, but you haven't lived for 100 years old." It just kind of shows that he's kind of been dealing with this war and like so much going on, and he's really trying to put on Aang that you're gonna have to make some difficult choices, and of course, like this plays into the theme. One of the major themes of like this season, um, that they really push in a lot of episodes, and put like really like in your face is everybody like everybody tells Aang, like especially like the past avatars like Kyoshi, Roku, and Kuruk in the last 2 episodes, is that he's the Avatar and he has to do it alone. And Aang's whole thing is like, no, I don't. I'm not gonna be able to do this without my friends, and that plays into here too. Um. So yeah. So Boomy's character is pretty much like more. He still has that kind of like mad king aspect to him, but like a little more like serious. And um, I've heard some people didn't like the change to his character, but honestly, I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good. The only thing I would have done differently is like I think I would have done the whole thing like they did in the cartoon, where Aang didn't know it was Boomy until like the end, when after he done all these tasks. Oh, by the way, I will say this: the tasks in the live action version, they're not even really tasks. There's like one. The first test was seeing if Aang would choose a vegetarian meal, and I guess that was to prove that he was who he said he is and everything. And then they do have a scene with some Gemini, which Aang gets trapped in for like 2 seconds until like he airbends out of it and everything. And of course, like the third task was just them fighting, um, like they do in the original. But yeah, the the task to the I think they should have. I think they should have like adapted the tasks from the original a little bit, or just done something different than what they did in the show. Because yeah, they didn't make no sense. They made more sense in the original cartoon with like making Aang think outside the box, right? Um, these were just like, eh, you know. But and like I said before, I would have kept the mystery of like who Boomy was till the end. Also, unfortunately, we did not get any Flopsy. We don't get to see Flopsy. Boomy's pet was is he a, what is Flopsy? Because I want to say kangaroo rabbit. Hold on. Okay, folks. So I have just learned that Flopsy is a goat gorilla. I had no idea. I always wondered about that. Um, yeah. Okay. So yeah. Unfortunately, no Flopsy, which I was a little disappointed. Like I didn't expect them to show like every single creature from Avatar, but I wish they had shown like a little more. Like of course we got Appa and Momo, and even them, they they barely have any appearances, just because so much CGI. I guess we do get the ostrich horses and everything. Of course we get June's Shirshu and all that. And a couple of things, but I wish we could get to see like a little more creatures. They do have like when Aang's brought to like the king, they do have these goat gorilla statues, so I guess Flopsy lives on in that way. But I don't know. I just think it would be cool to see Flopsy. But that's just me. But so, anyways, yeah, the Aang and Boomy stuff is really good and everything. Could have fixed some stuff, but I really liked it. I really liked. I thought the actor who played Boomy did a great job and everything. So, anyways, let's move on to the tunnel stuff because I got a lot of stuff to say about this. Okay, so when I first watched this episode and saw that they were bringing in the tunnels from the Cave of Two Lovers and from like book two and everything, I was really surprised. I was like, I did not expect that. Now here in the cartoon, the tunnels kind of led to an area outside of Omashu. Here they actually lead into like Omashu and like underground the path in the under the palace and stuff and everything. So here it's a little different. So Aang is in prison and stuff, and he has everything going on with the king. Katara and Sokka are trying to figure out a way to get him out. And so they learn about the tunnels from Sai and Teo, and Sai explains to them that people disappear in the tunnels that's supposedly haunted by like guardian spirits and everything. But they have no other choice. They decide to go check it out. So they go to like a cave and everything. They walk in, and here they meet the minstrels, the hippie music playing characters from the Cave of Two Lovers episode, and so they have them and everything, and they're singing the songs. They're singing and they sang in the show and everything. And they get like the backstory of Omashu and everything, and like why these tunnels are formed and like everything, and the two lovers and everything. All right. So Katara and Sokka they go through it and they end up like get into some arguments with like Sokka, still treating Katara as a child, not taking her feelings into consideration, and her, telling him that he needs to stop acting like dad and everything. And so they have some like heartwarming moments here, and they get through these tunnels by sibling love. Um, they put Sokka realized to put the lights out. They can see the crystals, and that just leads them everywhere. And then they realize that like the tunnels are changing, but that turns out it's badger moles, and so they get chased by a badger mole for a while, and until they realize Katara realizes that the badger mole senses feelings, and when her and Sokka are basically like they think they're about to die and they're holding hands like ready, the badger mole stops and she realizes what's going on. So then Sokka basically asks the badger mole if it can take them to the palace, and it does so. And honestly, I'm gonna say I think a lot of people probably don't like that they introduce this from book two into here. But I want to say I think this was done perfectly. I think this was a smart choice. Um, One of the things I've been thinking about while watching the show, and I think I've said this before, is that to me it really seems like the people who working on this show, they did not just like watch like book one of the original series and then just took everything from book one and adapted it into the show. They watched everything that had to do with Avatar. They watched watched book one, book two, book three. Um, you can even tell they read the comics and stuff. Like I would be surprised if they didn't even go as far as like watching Korra, for stuff. So I think they did their research and then they thought about like, okay, let's say this first season does really good, okay, and they get a season two and they're able to adapt book two. I'm gonna get a lot of flack for this. I'm gonna get a lot of flack for this. Um, I'm sorry. I want to apologize to all the Katang shippers out there. Okay, I'm with y'all. I love Katang too. Could do without all the sweeties in the comics, but that's just me. I think they're a good couple. Um, the Cave of Two Lovers is not a very important episode. Okay, I'm just gonna say it. It's like it's a good episode. It's a fun episode. I love the stuff with Sokka and the minstrels, his annoyance at them. And I do love like the small like romantic stuff with Katara and Aang and everything, and that did they kiss, did they not kiss, kind of thing at the end. Um, but honestly, it's just not an important episode. It does not. If they, it's something that like if they hadn't had it here, right? Um, and then they adapted book two. I would not be surprised if they had left it out entirely. Okay. Um, the only point of it is for them, to get to Amashu and everything. That's pretty much the only point of the episode. Of course, we get like a little backstory and everything, and that's cool. And they brought that elements into the live action show. So I think they really thought about like, okay, this is probably not gonna be something we can adapt, but maybe it's something we can move into the first season and everything. And I think it works really well. I think it works really well here, and that's what I gotta say about it. Okay, like I said, the original is a fun episode. Um, but I would say I wouldn't call it filler all that much. Maybe some people might consider it to be. I would consider like maybe minor filler. Like there's some stuff in it that I think is important, but all in all, the original episode. So yeah, it's a good episode, but I don't think it's an episode that really needed to be brought in or adapted. So I think they made a smart move by moving the element of it into this season and everything. So just moving on, I want to talk about my favorite thing from the episode, and that is the stuff with Iroh and Zuko. So Iroh is basically at the beginning of the episode, he has a small little scene with Aang in the Omashu prison. They're both being held um, kind of together in separate cells, but they're in the same vicinity of each other. And so they have a nice little conversation, which I loved. Like I said in the first episode, I loved that we got a scene with Iroh and Aang. And funny enough is like the first scene they have together on Zuko's boat. Aang is like in a prison cell on the brig, and here they have another scene in a prison, except they're both in prison now. Um, so Iroh is being taken to an Earth Kingdom labor camp known as the Pit, which he tells Aang that nobody is ever seen again when they go there. And during the travels, uh, he has these conversations with this Earth Kingdom guard who has like pretty much pure hatred from Iroh because he lost his brother during the siege of Ba Sing Se. Um, when he mentions that Iroh set fire to one of the walls and everything. His brother died during that, and so he believes Iroh has no humanity. And Iroh like says some things to him and everything. And I've read that some people didn't like the way that Iroh kind of portrayed when he says something. He says something along the lines of um I don't remember the exact quote, but it's like when you're pushed to the edges of war, you don't like what you see, and the guy takes it kind of like as a like not a he takes it as like, oh, is that supposed to be your pathetic apology, you know? And Iroh tells him, I'm not talking about me, kind of referring that he was talking about the guard pretty much. And I think I like that line from Iroh. I kind of took it as maybe he was talking about both in a way, but he was trying to pass like some kind of wisdom onto the guard, but the guard can't see past of like how his brother died and everything. Zuko ends up rescuing Iroh and everything. He tracks him, he disguises himself as an Earth Kingdom guard, gets into prison, finds out they've been moved. Iroh, instead of like dropping one of his stinky sandals, drops a Pai Sho tile, and that kind of helps Zuko find them. And of course, we have that scene that they released last week with Zuko and Iroh taking on these Earth Kingdom guards. And one thing I noticed is that like in that clip that was released before the show came out, the earthbending looked really slow, almost like it was like they were going for like a slow motion effect. That's not in the actual show, so I don't know if that was something they were doing, like, because even in some of the trailers when you see earthbending, it almost seems like they were going for like some kind of like slow motion, like cool slow motion effect with it, right? Um, but none of that effect is in the actual show, so it kind of makes me wonder, like, maybe they were just doing that for like the trailers and clips, or maybe because a lot of people didn't mention it that the effects for the earthbending looked really slow. Maybe they actually like before the show came up, they kind of sped it up a little bit. But it looks cool here. It's a cool little fight scene. The Earth Kingdom Guard basically tries to kill Iroh. He slings a rock into his back and Zuko knocks him out after Iroh let him go after his line of we've all seen too much death, and the guard's just like, nah, I'm not turning my back on you. You might try to kill me. So once Iroh turns his back, he tries to kill him. But yeah, that was brilliant and everything. Um, but my favorite aspect of all this Iroh and Zuko stuff were the flashbacks that we got. So let's talk about the flashback of Lu Tin's funeral. Alright, guys, so one thing I absolutely love about the show is the fact that they've incorporated a lot of original elements of the original music elements of the original show into this live action series. Um, so it's not the same composer and everything. the composer of the show, I can't think of his name right now. Um, I know it starts with a T. A lot of the music is original for the show, but like I said, they incorporate a lot of elements. So when you watch the show, you'll hear like if you remember watching like Book One Water, every time they showed Zuko's ship, they always had that dun 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 sound effect like that. You hear that in here. When you watch Azula's scenes in this show, you can hear Azula's theme, that little creepy. I can't do it, but that little creepy theme going on. And guys, the flashback to Littleton's funeral has the leaves on the vine instrumental, and it is beautiful, you guys. Every time I watch this episode, and I've watched it like 4 times now, when this scene comes up, and they have that scene with Iroh and Zuko where Zuko's talking to Iroh about Luton and everything, and that music comes up, dude, my eyes just water. Just oh my, thinking about it right now is making my eyes water. And Paul here does such a great job as Iroh in the scene, and just talking about the scene itself and why it's so great. Um, so the scene we see Iroh sitting by Luton's coffin and everything, and he is just kind of like there, dealing with the loss of his son, and people are like giving him the condolences and everything, and there's people talking about him behind his back, like there's a couple talking about how he abandoned the siege and all that, and he's gonna be seen as a coward and all this now, and then fucking Ozai, fucking Ozai walks up and basically just says some political Fire Nation propaganda bullshit to Iroh about, your son's going to be seen as a hero and a legend in the Fire Nation, and, his name is going to mean something, for all time. And I was just like, thank you, Ozai. Doesn't even, like, say anything. And then Zuko walks up and kind of says, like, same thing, Uncle, what's an honor for you? And Luton, to die in service to Fire Nation, he says some political bullshit too, basically. And then as he about to walk away, he turns around and walks back and pretty much gives Iroh an emotional moment, like tells him about how Luton helped him and gave him this like it's like some kind of medallion thing that Luton gave to Zuko when he was having trouble dealing with his firebending studies and stuff, and so he kind of gave him this medallion to encourage him. And Zuko shares this with Iroh, and it's not just he's actually sharing like a heartwarming moment with them that he had this moment with with his cousin, Iroh's son and everything. And after Zuko gives him the medallion, he sits with Iroh while people are giving his condolences, and then they play the leaves on the vine instrumental while this is going on, and you see this one tear come down Iroh's left eye, and it is just brilliant. Like I said, Paul did a phenomenal job. And then like at the end, towards the end of the episode when they're wrapping everything up, we get another flashback of Zuko. He's getting ready to embark on his journey and everything, to go looking for the Avatar, and Iroh arrives saying he wants to go with them, and Zuko is basically like, "Look, Uncle, I don't need a babysitter." And Iroh tells him, "Well, what about a friend?" And Zuko tells him, "Uncle, my father told me I can't come back until I find the Avatar, so we're not gonna be able to come home for a very long time." And Iroh just looks at him and just says, "Home? Everything I need is on this boat." And then he makes a joke about everything he needs being tea, but obviously he meant Zuko and everything. I love that. I love what they did in this episode. But anyways, guys, that's gonna be it for my review. I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna give this one. I want to give it a 10 out of 10 because I really love it. I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. I don't care what anybody says. Okay, I do have some issues with it. There's some stuff that could be fixed. Of course, one of the things in this show has been kind of like the dialogue isn't always that great and it's repetitive a lot of times. But I think this episode is good. I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. Okay, you guys, maybe some of you will be mad at me. I don't care. Okay, I like it. I like it. Okay. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the episode. Drop a like, leave a comment down below, and I will see you in the next one. Love you guys.